Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Second Act Cat RN. My name is Kat and I'm a 64-year-old registered nurse, and my channel is about nurses who are older and they're wanting to change careers or start a second act, a second chapter in life maybe. And today I wanted to talk about something I've alluded to in some other videos, and that is I had a workplace injury 3.5 years ago, and because of that workplace injury, I was put on light duty, and 6 months later, I was subsequently fired for some random made up thing. So the story about the wrongful termination is what I'm going to talk about today. I'm not necessarily going to talk about the workers' comp case that's currently open, but some of that might come into play when I'm talking about the wrongful termination. To me, it goes hand in hand somewhat, but anyway, so here goes. And I've got my dog Sophie laying on the couch next to me, so you may hear her make weird sounds because I'm going to tell you, every time I start a video, she's scratching or something. She was chasing one of my cats just a little bit ago when I was making a video, and you could kind of hear a little bit of that in the background. But anyway, if you hear that, it is what it is. So maybe I'll do a blooper reel one of these days. Anyway, so what happened was, I'll lead up with the accident and then I'll go into the what led up to the wrongful termination. So I had gone into a patient's room and the floor had been mopped, but there was no signage up. So I don't remember going into the room, and I don't remember actually slipping, but all I remember is going towards the room, and then all of a sudden everything is dark. I'm going backwards, I'm falling backwards. I had this patient's whole medications mixed in with applesauce, which is what she preferred. And as I was going backwards, I remember thinking, when the cup went flying out of my hand with the applesauce and the pills, I remember thinking, it was kind of like slow motion. I thought, I don't want to fall. I don't want to hit my head. Oh, I finally slipped on a wet floor. So I'm thinking these things. It just seemed like it was slow motion. And I hit twice. I hit the mid-thoracic area of my back, right on the spine, or right immediately beside the spine, but it was almost directly on it. And I also hit right here. So somehow I managed to throw my head back and over to hit here. I don't know how I performed that magic trick, but I had a big goose egg right on top. And anyway, so long story short, I ended up on light duty. I was off, that was a Saturday morning, so I was off. I normally worked Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. I was off the rest of that day, obviously, and the next day, and I was told by workers' comp doctors that I had to go back the next weekend. I did a Baylor schedule, so I did Friday, Saturday, and Sundays every week. So I went back to work that next weekend, but I had to leave. It was so many symptoms I had: nausea, vomiting, light sensitivity, pain. I mean, just everything. My balance was off. There were a host of issues. So I was put on light duty, which was really answering the phones and doing some computer work. And I remember I was entering data for employee COVID tests, like the test results. I had to enter that. They had me sitting at a computer with a very bright screen. I was in tears. It was painful. But anyway, so I did miscellaneous stuff. I did COVID testing of patients. I did COVID testing of employees, or I recorded their results. I answered the phone. I did a few little things. I would answer call lights. I just couldn't lift above 10 pounds. I had difficulty. I injured my neck, just a bunch of stuff. So So what happened that led to the wrongful termination was, well, throughout the 6 months that I was on light duty, I heard little rumblings throughout the building, and it was a nursing home, and I heard people were talking about me that they thought I was faking it because I didn't have a neck brace on, I didn't have a leg brace, I didn't have a walker, I didn't have crutches. I looked fairly normal, but everything inside was not. So all the symptoms and all the issues I had, you couldn't really see, except for my neck swelling on this SCM muscle, which I now get a type of therapy that's covered by workers' comp, finally. So that was the only thing, if you looked, you could see that. You could see me walking unsteadily. I had people commenting on if I was standing there talking to them, other coworkers, if I was standing there talking to them, they were telling me that my balance was off, like I would be swaying, just slightly swaying to where I couldn't even tell. And when I'd stop and just stand there and try to see how it was, I could feel it. But if I was just walking and stopped, I'm talking to somebody, not thinking about it, I had no idea. The other thing that happened in that 6 month time frame was my memory loss. I had short-term memory loss. I had retrograde amnesia as well because I can't remember a few things, like going into the patient's room and slipping on the actual wet floor. So I would be in the middle of a conversation with somebody, and then I just trail off. I had no idea what I just said, and I had no idea where I was going with the conversation. So I thought I was hiding that because I would realize I didn't know what I was going to say next, and I just kind of fake it and trail off into something else. So one day, one of my a nurse that I was talking to, we were good friends, and she made a comment like, "You seem like you forgot what you're talking about." And another coworker, a CNA, had said, "We've noticed that about you, and that's not you." So I told them I thought I was hiding it. It's terribly embarrassing because you're in the middle of a conversation. Yes, I'm older, and older people tend to forget things, or they'll go, "What's that? What's the name of that person that I saw the other day?" Things like that are normal, but this was not me. This was not normal. It's like a change happened literally overnight. So that I'm still dealing with some of that. That's gotten a lot better, but I still have, especially with people I don't know. It may happen here. I think it did happen on one of my videos because I don't know you guys, but it did happen on one of my videos, and I think I've joked about it. I've gone to where I joke about it now because it is embarrassing, but it's just part of it. For me, it's part of it. So when I was on light duty, I would be going to different units to get supplies or whatever, and I'd get these funny stares. So I knew something was coming down the pike. This was early on. I had so many injuries and I missed a lot of work. I called out. I'd have to leave in the middle of the day. I had no more PTO or vacation time to take, no more sick days. I exhausted everything. So I wasn't getting paid when I'd leave work or when I would call out. I had vertigo like crazy. I had nausea, vomiting. It was just unbelievable. All the symptoms I had, a ton of neurological symptoms. So I'm on light duty, and people would have comments about me. Like, I had a particular chair. I injured my back. It hurt just like a knife was stabbing in it. And so I had to have a chair with a back on it that was comfortable. I couldn't sit in a chair that had a back that was low because I had to support the thoracic area. So people would say, excuse me, people would come in and sit in that chair in this little tiny office we had and just sit there and chat with, it was a particular CNA, and chat with other people. And I'd have to let her know that was my station. I had to answer the phone, so I had to sit there. But I got snarky comments when I'd say, "Hey, do you mind if I sit there? I've got to answer the phones." There were snarky comments made on a couple different occasions. So I did report those. because that's just not right. I was injured and I was treated just crazy, crazy ways. So what led up to my termination, was we had a CNA that I was good friends with who was in a position but was moved to a different position. Long story, but we were supporting her. So several of us wanted to maybe sign a petition. And so just in support of her having that position she originally had. She was perfect at it. It fit her personality, and she was the embodiment of the facility. So it really, we were all really upset that she was taken from that position and moved to another one. So we decided one of the CNAs wanted to fill out a complaint form to complain to management, and we didn't have a form like that. That was for patients if they felt they were treated badly. So since I was answering the phones and I was at the desk, I said, I'll just type up a little blurb, and the three of us, or the few people that talked about it, would sign it. So I typed up a couple paragraphs. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but it was kind of a short summary of what we thought happened based on what this person told us had happened to her. And we decided we're going to sign it. So one of the girls said, leave it on the desk and I'll sign it when I come back to the office there. Then another girl, a nurse, said, I want to sign it, but put it on my med cart. And when I come back, when you're done and you put it on the med cart, I'll sign it and I'll bring it back to you. So I did that. So it was going to be there were 3 or 4 of us that were going to sign it. That's it. Unbeknownst to me, that nurse decided to take it around the building and have employees sign it and patients. So when she brought it back to me, she said that, I took it around the building and I had other nurses sign it and other employees and patients. And I thought, oh no, I didn't ask her to do that. I hadn't planned on doing that. That wasn't even something I thought about. So it ended up in the administrator's office on his desk. I put it there and I put it on our DON's desk. And one of the other nurses had said, why don't you put it on so-and-so's desk? And then the boss of the CNA that was moved from her position to another one. And so anyway, I did. And I should have not listened to them. But at the time, we were all in support of this CNA being moved from one position to another. So the next day, that was a Sunday, the next morning, I got a call from from someone, a unit manager, saying the DON wanted to see me and I was off. And she said she wants you to come in. So I kind of had a suspicion it was about that, but I was busy. I had my grandson. So I had tried to get out of going because I had my grandson with me, and I ended up making arrangements and I was able to swing by. So she confronted me with this, and I said, I didn't take it around the building. I didn't have all those people sign it. So-and-so did. And she said, what did she say? She said something about, if you hadn't typed it, she wouldn't have taken it around the building. As if that other nurse wasn't able to think for herself. So because I typed it up, by default, I was the guilty one for everybody that signed it that this nurse took it to. And we were all fired up about this CNA being moved to a different position. So we all really wanted to support her. So anyway, the DON had said, okay, thanks for coming in. I'm going to talk to so-and-so about it and see what, the one that took it around, the nurse that took it around for signatures. So the next morning, the Tuesday morning, I got another call or a text, just like the day before, from the same, I believe it was the same unit manager on a whole other unit where I didn't work. And said she wanted to see me again. I needed to come in. And I thought, you know, it was just weird. I kind of had a suspicion. So I went in and I was called into her office with the DON and the ADON, and the DON proceeded to tell me that I violated a policy in the handbook and that warranted my termination. So, you know, I made a comment that I didn't think it was that bad to warrant a termination. So anyway, I left eventually, and I ended up searching for attorneys for wrongful termination because I felt like they lied and said I violated something in the handbook. They referenced it. So anyway, long story, there's a bunch to this. I'll just kind of do little quick things. I filed for unemployment. I spoke to 8 or 10 different attorneys, and all but one, the very last one said, oh, you do. I believe you have a case. If everything you've said is correct, I believe you have a case. So it ended up, we had a phone hearing for the unemployment, and it was, I lost, then they lost, then I lost, and then they appealed it, and it was determined that I didn't violate anything in the handbook. So they were saying I violated something that didn't apply to me. What they said was not applicable to me. I didn't fit the criteria for that specific issue, so I didn't violate anything. So the actual mediation date was exactly a year to the day from when I was fired. Now I'm only dealing with the continued workers' comp case. So I'm still being seen. I'm still having, you know, therapies and different things for different issues and testing. I just had some testing a couple days ago. So we're waiting to get through, I'm waiting to get through this portion. You know, this is exhausting. It is literally exhausting. So to have had 2 cases, one for the wrongful termination and one for the workers' comp, and still going, that has just been so exhausting. At that time, it was a year for the wrongful termination case while I was going through the workers' comp stuff, while I was dealing with all the injuries and all the issues. So we did get that taken care of. And one day I'll be able to talk about the workers' comp, how that's been going once we get through that. So I learned on YouTube, by the way, how to fight for myself and advocate for myself, because I'm going to tell you right now, the employer doesn't care about you. And, you know, sadly, workers' comp doesn't care. So we'll touch on that in another video at some point. But anyway, thanks for joining me. If you have any questions, please drop them comments below, questions below, like, subscribe, and share. And I will see you soon on the next video. Thank you.